What's up, folks? Sean the Average Angler coming at you with another great video, and today we are going to talk about what most anglers get wrong about August bass fishing. Now look, this is a great time to catch fish. I've seen a lot of videos about how tough it is in August. It is not tough in August. It's tough in August if you don't know what to do. Today, on this video, we're going to help you figure that out. Now, if you're new to the channel, you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button down below. Join the community. We bring you all kinds of great action every day, or almost every day. Hey, we shed a little light on the situation here. All right. So if you've been skunked lately, chances are you're making one of these three mistakes. Very simple, three mistakes. Look, August is typically hot. We're at the height, in most places, of the water temps we're going to see for the year. Some people like to talk about the fish being lethargic, but let's remember the fish's metabolism is based off the temperature of the water. The hotter the water, the quicker their food's digesting, which means they need to eat. So we just need to present a bait in the right place and at the right speed to trigger those fish into biting. So the number one thing I think people do wrong, it's not necessarily that they're fishing the wrong spots, it's that they're fishing at the wrong time of day. Now I'm going to give you an example of this and how we might think backwards of what it really is. And many years ago, I don't want to talk about how many years ago, I fished a tournament on Clear Lake, and we went cranking early, and then in the afternoon we went up shallow and we're fishing these small weed clumps, okay? Say 2 foot, 3 foot circumference, enough of a weed clump so that a big fish could set up underneath it for shade. Well, in the afternoon is when we went to these places, and they were shallow, kind of the opposite of what you would think. We were flipping and pitching 3/4 ounce weights to these fish in 2.5 foot of water, 3 foot of water. Use the natural occurrences of the daytime to dictate where you're fishing. Now look, I'm not saying this is always going to be the case. It is a case where we're waiting for the sun to get high, so overhead, because it's going to help position those fish in a target-rich environment where we don't have to mess around with casting here, there, everywhere. We know right where we need to cast. And we were flipping into those little mats, and those fish would just crush it. Now, you may have gone by there and fished it in the morning thinking it's shallow, I need to go early. You might have been fishing a 1/4 ounce weight and flipping the edges of it. We were flipping the edges of it, but with a 3/4 ounce weight. We wanted something moving fast, boom, and it hit the bottom, right? Comes in, phew, flying by them. You want to trigger a reaction strike. So that kind of leads us into our next one, which is the wrong lure speed. And this really applies to pretty much any lure you fish. We could be talking about buzzbaits, right? We could be talking about a whopper plopper. We could be talking about a frog. We could be talking about a spinnerbait. We could be talking about a square bill. Speed that you're working that bait can affect whether you're going to trigger that fish or not. If you're fishing a bait fast enough to where basically they have an option of saying, I'm going to eat it or it's going to be gone, that's kind of where we're at this time of year. The fish are charged up and they need to eat. It's also August, and they've seen a lot of baits, so they've been pressured, so we need to do something to trigger them. Now, this could be just about any bait you want to fish. It could be a flag 170, right? A swim bait. It could be a glide bait. It really doesn't matter. It could be a chatterbait. Speed activates a lot of things, even if we're fishing a jig. So speed of lure could be the influence of why we're not triggering fish. We're running our bait by them, but we're not triggering it. Number 3, and this is my biggest pet peeve because it's one of the places I love to fish, and that is avoiding deeper water. Now we're going to talk a little bit about deeper water. It's really relative to where you're fishing. Now, my closest body of water that most of you would be familiar with is the California Delta, which is a slough system. It's a shallow water fishery, but depth of water can be a difference. Now, we had a recent experience where we were out practicing for the frog fishing tournament. My partner turned around and threw a swing head out in the opposite direction. So, out off a point. We caught fish off of that point for quite some time. It was deeper water. It was all relative. It wasn't deep water. It was deeper water. So deeper in relation to where those fish are normally holding. So if you're fishing your local pond and most of the area you typically fish is 2.5 to 3 foot, well, hey, if you can fish 4.5 to 5 foot, you're deeper. You've just made a big change in the fish's world about positioning and eating. Now, it may not always be easy to figure out where those spots are, but I'm going to tell you a way to do it, and there's several. Grass edges tend to grow, or grass tends to grow in certain depths of water. If you see spots where it's not growing, generally means one of two things. Okay? First, there's a hard spot. If you've got a rocky bottom, a lot of times that grass can't grow. Well, guess what rocky bottoms attract? Fish, right? It attracts bait fish, it attracts crawdads, which in turn attracts bass. So hard spots can be a great spot to fish. Number two, those weed edges are resembling a depth change, or a depth where that sunlight's no longer penetrating and the weeds can't grow. There's your deeper water. Techniques and all that stuff, we can get into a whole lot of stuff around that. But I'm pretty sure if you fish those areas, you're going to catch fish. Deeper water, the water's a little cooler. Not at the top, at the bottom, where those fish are going to be hanging out. Let's get into what I want to fish this time of year to help me eliminate water and dial in a bite. And in this, I'm going to reference being in a boat. I think the majority of people fish from something floating, whether it be a boat or a kayak or a float tube, whatever it might be. I'm going to start out with a 3/4 ounce swing head. And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to start out with that 3/4 ounce swing head. That is a Strike King Magnum Rage Bug on that. Now you can fish the regular Rage Bug. If I'm fishing the regular Rage Bug, I'm going to switch over to the Fat Pack baits for one reason and one reason only. Quite honestly, the plastic's better, okay? It's going to be a little bit more lively because it's got a little bit more buoyant plastic. With a swing head and a 3/4 ounce, I can get down to the bottom quick, I can cause a commotion, and I can cover water. Now, generally, I'm fishing it very similar to a crankbait, but maybe slower. I want to feel my bait banging bottom. If it's banging bottom, the odds are you've got rock in the area. That's what we're looking for. The rock holds deeper fish. The deeper fish need something to hold to. Now, if we don't have grass, which is generally up shallower, we need something for the fish structure-wise to hold on. Rock piles provide a lot of things for us. They can grow algae. We can have zooplankton around. We can have moss growing, which generally brings in the other sources of our food chain. Now, as we get into deeper water, we also get into cooler temperatures, so it can be more comfortable for the bass, which is why on a lot of lakes, especially outside of California where I live, like the Tennessee chain, where ledge fishing is very, very popular. And we're going to get into something in just a second here, guys. Ledge fishing is the reason those fish are populating those areas is because they're down deeper, there's some current, and they have structure. It's also cooler, so it's more comfortable for those fish to be there. If it's more comfortable for the fish, it's also more comfortable for the bait. So the whole food chain is built the same way, okay? You don't have something that's going to stay up in the 100-degree temps in the food chain. All these things are fish and crustaceans, crawdads, are going to be more comfortable down in those cooler water. Now the crustaceans or crawdads can burrow into the mud and stay a little cooler than the water if it's just heating up during the day, cooling down at night. Another one of my favorites, when I locate a spot or if I think there's fish there and they wouldn't eat the other one, which is a long shot. Fish love that wobblehead. I'm going to fish a 3/4 ounce football jig, and you'll see this is very compact. The skirt's trimmed up. This is a Strike King Rage Craw chunk. I might also choose to use a Paca Craw Beastie Bug, and you'll notice the claws are already darker on the tips. I didn't have to do that. That's how they come. Fantastic jig trailer, by the way. Next, I'm going to throw a deep diving crankbait. The deep diving crankbait is such a great way to cover water and trigger strikes. Here's the one I got right here. This one runs to 40 some odd feet. I don't care how many 40 something feet. It dives deep. That thing's banging down around there off the rocks. It's deflecting. It is built to trigger a strike, much like any other deep diving crankbait. We always want to grab a crankbait that's going to go a little deeper than what we're at so that we can bang and deflect. We're trying to trigger a strike. Again, this kind of gets back to speed and all that kind of stuff. And one thing I will say is on my deep diving crankbaits, I do not fish slow retrieve reels. 7 to 1 and above. Pretty much 7 to 1, 7 to 3, 7 to 4, 7.4 to 1, because I want to be able to move that bait. I can always slow down. The average angler can slow down, but we want to trigger a strike. The final bait we're going to be using down in those areas, and this is just, if you can't get bit in the summer, just get you a shaky head. Get out off the bank, find some hard bottom, and throw a shaky head. Thank me later, okay? It's just a great way to get bit. They love a shaky head in the summertime. Use a popular color. Don't make it rocket science. If you're trying to get bit, I love green pumpkin. I love margarita mutilator. So you're talking about green pumpkins, purples. That's pretty much my realm. You don't have to carry a ton of them. Pick your favorite shaky head. Go out there and fish those hard spots that you found with the wobblehead. Now look, this is pieces and keys to a puzzle. The wobblehead 3/4 ounce is probably one of the best discovery baits ever made. Number one, it gets bit. Number two, you can feel everything it's doing down there. So when you happen upon a hard bottom area, you know it. You feel it. It's bang, bang, bang. Your rod tip's going toom, 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 non-stop because you're coming through a rock pile, rock garden, rocky area in clay bank, whatever it may be. These are fish holding structures. Great place to look to get bit. Once we find these places, we can go through a whole plethora of different ways to catch them, right? If you can't catch them on one thing, you go to another. And I do want to say that no matter what you fish, remember it's warm. A jig, a Ned head, a shaky head. If you're not getting bit, pop that thing up off the bottom. Get aggressive with it. Make that thing jump up and crash back down. See if you don't get bit then. Their metabolism is charged up. We're trying to force them to react. It's not winter. It's not January. It's not February. Well, we need to slow down. It's completely the opposite. Remember that. We need to trigger these fish to bite. August should not be difficult to get bit, and it's not. If it is for you, you're looking in the wrong place or you're fishing the wrong way. Now, I'm going to cover one other method because I love fishing this, and you know that because I just did the frog tournament. That's frog fishing. Frog fishing around matted cover and all that is grand, right? Nobody loves getting blown up on a frog more than me. Frog fishing is a lot of fun. I'm going to give you a couple tips here in relations to frog fishing. Number one, if you're in a hot part of the country and you have high water temperatures, I'm going to advise do it early and do it late. So after that sun's done beating down on areas, then we're going to look for the shade stuff, right? Shade, weed combination. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, and I hate giving this one. Don't think you have to be over weeds and grass in order to get bit on a frog. Just don't. It's my secret to my frog tournament success, which is 7 years in a row in the top 10. We fish open water. Generally, we're finding areas with current, whether it's driven by wind, tide, inlets, whatever it may be. We fish open water. That's my secret, okay? It's not really a secret, but it is a secret. Fishing in August should be easy. Should be bull tilt boogie. I mean, you should be catching a lot of fish in the heat of the summer. Okay, the biggest thing you should have to worry about is how you're going to stay cool. And look, I can give you a tip on that too. Drink lots of water. If you're not peeing every hour, you ain't drinking enough water. I like to use the electrolyte stuff. I told you Drip Drop's my thing. I have a monthly subscription. Drip Drop's fantastic. It gives you the electrolytes. You just pour it in a bottle of water, shake it up. I drink it. That's the key to being able to hang out in the heat. Don't do this. Okay? I'm not in the heat. I'm in the garage. I'm in the shop. We're talking fishing. All right, let's recap. Speed, wrong time of day. Let's go in order. Wrong time of day. Just because you didn't get bit somewhere doesn't mean you shouldn't go back. If you've had success there in the past, I'd suggest maybe revisiting. Now, there's probably a few other things that you should incorporate into the thought process. You know, what's there that should make the fish want to be there? Do we have those conditions? Wrong lure speed. Again, most of the time, I'm guessing it's going to be speed up. Crank that thing up. It really doesn't matter what you're fishing. It could be, let's talk about a square bill. All right? Square bill. Fish it fast. Now, it doesn't mean it's a race to get the bait back to the rod tip so you make another cast. What it means is maybe you're burning it and then pausing it. Burning it and pausing it. And we're talking about 3, 4, 5 turns of the reel handle. Burn it as fast as you can. You can do the same thing with a top water. You can walk, and then let it sit for 2 seconds. All we're doing is pausing it to give that fish a change of pace to where he has a decision if he's following it to strike or turn off. We can do it with spinner baits, buzz baits, top water, crankbaits. We can do it with our underspins. You can do it with a jig. You can do it with a chatterbait. Okay? And if you're wondering, that's an OSP. It's called a metal blade jig. You see it's got a little weed guard there. Just a different chatterbait. But you can do it with all these different baits. We're trying to trigger a strike, and I'm not suggesting that you just speed race it back to the tip of the rod to make another cast. I'm saying put speed into it. Much like flipping, pitching to cover in shallow water with a 3/4 ounce weight, right? It's the speed. Top to bottom, like that, the fish has a choice. Do I eat or do I turn away? You're forcing them to react. Summertime is all about reaction. We want to make the fish react. You do this, you stick with it, you venture around, you're going to have success, okay? Put some comments down there. Let me know if this is working for you guys. That's why I'm here, to help you catch more fish. I'm Sean, the Average Angler. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.